welcome to a brand new video, and today it is a bit of an unexpected video here. Today I'm going to be talking to you about everything that has happened in Monoposto MyCareer so far. Initially I wanted to actually make a video about every battle I've had with Christian Lundgaard in the series. As you can tell right now, I'm battling him here in Bahrain back in F2, and we've battled all the way through to Formula 1. But then, for whatever reason, at like 1 AM the other day, I decided, what if I actually made a recap for those who are actually quite new to the series, so they can catch up on everything that has happened so far from seasons 1 to season 4, and then maybe watch season 5 if you want to later down the line. But let us get straight into that. We begin in 2021 when I started the whole series back in Formula 2. So we begin with Formula 2, where we had a very intense title fight in 2021. We had multiple different winners, including Sam, me, Divebomb, Lundgaard, Mo, all the way back in the day. It was an absolutely insane season. Schwartzman as well in the Russian Grand Prix. We had about 7 different drivers who could have won the championship in Abu Dhabi. It all came down to that. But midway through the season, there were rumours going around that I could have gone to Alfa Romeo, but unfortunately, as we now know, that didn't happen at any point in Season 2. But in the end, Zhou Guanyu ended up winning the Formula 2 World Championship, snatching the title from then championship leader Sam, who would get promoted with me into Formula 1. And I predicted Verstappen winning the 2021 championship. I know it was in September and it looked obvious, but we moved. I also predicted De Vries midway through the year actually jumping into the Williams, and now things start to get very technical, as in Baku, midway through season 2, Sainz got robbed off a victory by Leclerc, and this will be important much later down the line, as now tensions were already starting to grow between the Ferrari team. But even more crucially, Max Verstappen had a season-ending injury in the Belgian Grand Prix, which then started everything. As now, IndyCar driver at the time, Christian Lundgaard, jumped into the AlphaTauri to replace Tsunoda, who jumped into the Red Bull. And as we know in Season 3, Yuki did not cook in the Red Bull. He was absolutely terrible, which then opens up another can of worms later down the line. But IndyCar driver Lundgaard had got an F1 seat, and he joined me and Sam, who had been promoted into Formula 1. And I was getting absolutely cooked by this guy. Look how close he was in the championship when he joined midway through. But anyway, in the end, after some minor cheating from McLaren and Mercedes, Lando Norris beat both Leclerc and George Russell to win the Formula 1 World Championship and become the youngest ever driver to win a world title. Meanwhile in F2, Coolest, as we all know, caused that big crash in Monza the year before. He went on to win the F2 title, and Flyer went on to win the F3 title, and Hamilton had just retired. So now we can finally jump into probably my favourite season so far of Monoposto MyCareer, Season 3. We get underway, and there's a lot to talk about. First of all, the FIA noticed that Mercedes and McLaren were using loopholes to gain on Ferrari. Thus, they lost a lot of performance, and actually, McLaren ended up being like a backmarker car. By the time we got into 2023, Mercedes were more of higher midfield, and Ferrari looked like they had no rivals, but of course, they had Red Bull and Aston Martin starting to rise up, and it was absolutely insane. And we even saw a lot of surprise winners like Coolest, in not even the quickest car, going on to win the Spanish Grand Prix. And then midway through the year, we had another huge regulation change. The FIA saw there were more loopholes, and they had enough. They decided, you know what, we're giving you a spec car of what we want, and you're going to use it. And thus, that kind of reset the entire grid all over again. but it did help my team, BMW Sauber, because we gained a lot of performance, and I even ended up getting my first ever podium in Formula 1. Meanwhile, Ferrari was still on top of the game. However, the gap to the cars behind like Red Bull had closed massively. Aston Martin forgot how to cook and they just dropped back. But in the end, Pierre Gasly, in probably the inferior car between the two, ended up winning the World Championship, beating Leclerc. And you've just got to wonder where Leclerc is mentally at this point in time. Meanwhile, in Formula 2, his brother, Arthur Leclerc, did bring some gold home for the Leclerc family, and he won the championship, while in Formula 3, Salvatore won on the line to become the Formula 3 World Champion by 1 point ahead of Jade. And now we can finally move into Season 4. But before we do that, remember, Lamborghini had prepared for this. They moved the engine reg changes that we're going to see in 2026 all the way back to 2024. And midway through 2023, Lamborghini announced that they would use their own engine for the 2024 season, and this is where things will change for the better or the worst in Formula 1. Lamborghini, despite having shocking aero for the entire year, had a brilliant engine. They've basically done what Mercedes did in 2014, and they went from probably a lower-end midfield team to a front runner, allowing drivers like Lundgaard and Sainz to get victories that they never would have thought of in the year before. But now, we move to the midway point of 2024, and things have taken a big twist for myself. After literally the best strategy possible in the Canadian Grand Prix, Ferrari decided it was finally time to promote their British driver that they've nurtured from Formula 2 all the way to Formula 1. It was time to put him in the big seat of Ferrari. And it was very unfair to Mick Schumacher. However, Ferrari needed to score many more points than they were scoring at the time. And I was doing wonders in a BMW Sauber. So why not put me into the Ferrari and see what I can do? And of course, at the time, I did my best, but we were never better than the third best car. Despite trying multiple times to get a victory, something would get in the way, like Lundgaard, or the car just wasn't quick enough for me to actually compete for victories consistently because of Mercedes and Lamborghini having a bit of a stronghold on the sport that we know and love. But now, enough about my move to Ferrari. Leclerc actually decided to leave Ferrari after I joined midway through the year. He was off to Red Bull in 2025. But let's talk about the championship fight between Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz, two drivers who made their debuts in the same year in the same car, going at it for the World Championship. And obviously, Mercedes, they did everything they could to catch up to Lamborghini, but Lambo had the quicker car. But in Abu Dhabi, Verstappen got hit by the most amazing amount of luck to win the 2024 World Championship right at the death by one singular point to a heartbroken Carlos Sainz. And meanwhile, Lamborghini did walk their way to the Constructors' World Championship. But Season 4, I actually don't know which one's my favourite, Season 3 or 4. They're both just so different in their own ways, but they're absolutely entertaining. Meanwhile, in Formula 2, Oscar Piastri dominated the F2 Championship and won with a race to go, and Prema continued that domination throughout in Formula 3 as Montoya managed to win the F3 title. And now we move to Season 5, where the field has gotten a lot closer. Lamborghini still haven't figured out their issues with aero, so they still have a really good engine, but Ferrari, Ford and Mercedes have caught up to them, and they just don't have the pace that they had before in Season 4, so they are starting to go backwards. But we will have to wait and see what can happen later down the line. Meanwhile, a team like Aston Martin decided to take elements from Red Bull and Mercedes to make their own car really quick. Same with McLaren, but we're only halfway through Season 5. We got a long way to go, and I'm so excited to see what will happen in that championship fight. Can Lando Norris maybe come back and win his second World Championship, or will Max Verstappen and Mercedes find a way to catch up and make sure McLaren don't ruin the fun? that is the end of today's video. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye. Shine.